I still can't believe this happened in One Piece, so what exactly am I talking about? Well, I've been going through One Piece, really been enjoying it. Now, it can be kind of a wacky series, you probably don't need me to tell you that, but it's certainly incredible, and I was making my way through, and some time ago I came across Marineford. And there is so much I could talk about with this arc because it is phenomenal. But for this particular video, I wanted to focus in on one character that makes a surprise appearance, and that character is, of course, Shanks. Now, to be clear, I also want to look back at Shanks' previous appearances in the story and reevaluate them with a new perspective. Because again, after Marineford, everything with this character all of a sudden seems way crazier. Because even when I started to think of like, okay, what have I seen Shanks do up to this point in the story? What has his plot been? What do I know so far about him in this story? And the more and more I thought about it, I realized, not much. In fact, the little I do know, I'm not even sure like how much of that is accurate, because again, looking back at these previous scenes, every single time Shanks appears on the screen, you know it's going to be a big moment. So like, before I even talk about what happened with Shanks at Marineford, let me briefly talk about everything that Shanks had done up to this point in the story, because again, going all the way back to Luffy's backstory, I had a drastically different perception of this character. I don't even know why, but for whatever reason, I thought he would just turn out to be like a random pirate who happened to inspire Luffy. Like, I definitely didn't think he would turn out to be one of the most mysterious and powerful characters in the entire world. Now, maybe I should have suspected a little bit more when he scared away a Sea King by just looking at it. Like, who the flip is this guy? Now, something about Shanks that kind of threw me off is most of the time he's just kind of a fun, likable character. He likes to drink and party and laugh and just have fun. But then all of a sudden he has these moments where he locks in and I'm like, oh shoot, okay, something is happening. Like in the backstory, there was a couple like with the mountain bandits when they threatened Luffy's life, and this dude actually got kind of scary. Like in that moment, he looked like a dude who was just like, yeah, let's party, let's have fun, to I will slaughter each and every single last one of you. And I already mentioned when he looked at the Sea King and scared it off. So yeah, in a lot of Shanks' moments, he is a very fun guy, but then you also see other moments where you're like, okay, I understand why he's an Emperor of the Sea. Do not mess with this dude. And also something else with Shanks is, it's like Oda is kind of messing with me every time he's on screen, because he's like, oh yeah, you have a bunch of questions about him? Here's some more questions, because I'm going to give you some more information, which answers a few of the questions, but for every question it answers, 3 more spring up. Like with the Sea King, why is Shanks so strong and this and that? And it becomes a theme where Oda is almost one-upping himself every single time Shanks appears on the screen. Again, Shanks doesn't appear very often, but he's almost like Santa Claus, where his appearances are rare, but you know when he shows up, it's a big moment. But yes, more time goes by, then we run into Buggy in Orange Town, and Buggy's like, oh yeah, your buddy Shanks? Yeah, he was on a crew with me. Now, it was hinting at some big stuff, like they were on a crew together, and Oda was like, I'm not going to tell you which crew yet. But I will say something that Buggy definitely got right, even if his whole sob story was actually kind of stupid because it was all his fault that he swallowed the devil fruit. Something Buggy actually got right is we don't really know who Shanks is. Like, I don't. Because then more time goes by and Oda's like, okay, I gotta one-up myself. Anytime Shanks appears on the screen, let me think of, okay, what can I do now that's even crazier than the last time? And he's like, oh yeah, here's a character in Mihawk. I don't know about you, but for me, a character like Mihawk was one of the major selling points where I was just like, okay, I definitely want to go into the Grand Line. I want to follow this story. Like when he turned up at the Baratier, I was just like, okay, I'm sold. But then Oda's just like, oh, you know what would be kind of funny? I'm going to use that character of Mihawk and I'm just going to have him turn up randomly and talk to Shanks. And I'm like, what? Like seriously, who is Shanks exactly? Oh yeah, and also we basically learned that these two used to fight each other and I'm like, wait, what? Like Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman. We saw the humiliation ritual he put Zoro through. Like this dude fought him with a tiny dagger and he wasn't even trying. So at that point I'm just like, okay, what does that mean about Shanks? Like how strong is he? And for the longest time my speculation was, okay, maybe he's a warlord of the sea, because again, Mihawk is a warlord. He knows Mihawk. The warlords were recently introduced. But no, I was wrong, and Oda's like, yeah, I'm gonna one-up that. How am I gonna do it? Well, when Luffy's grandpa turns up in Water 7 and he starts talking to Luffy, I'm gonna have him mention Shanks, and I'm like, okay, is he gonna reveal, like, okay, maybe he's a warlord? And he's like, nope, no, he's not a warlord. Think bigger. How about there's these 4 extremely dangerous pirates who rule over the New World? They're called Emperors of the Sea. and Shanks just happens to be one of them. Like at that point, I'm just like, okay, anything is on the table with this dude. Whatever you told me about him, I'm like, yeah, that's probable. You could even tell me something insane like he was on the King of the Pirates crew, but who would believe that? Oh yeah, that reminds me, something else that happened is Shanks may have actually had a meeting with Whitebeard, you know, the world's strongest man. And something I keep noticing is it's like every time Shanks appears, Oda finds something insane to do. Because he shows up on Whitebeard's ship, and what I will say is he definitely knows how to aura farm, because he's casually walking and he's knocking out a bunch of the Whitebeard pirates with his haki. Now, was it necessary to be knocking them out? No. But hey, I mean, it's really cool, so why not?
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Now, to be fair, at this point, I didn't really know much about hockey because, again, that's introduced more later on. But even so, he starts talking to Whitebeard, and you feel the presence with these two. Like, at one point, they even split the skies. Like, that's apparently something you can do. But I guess with Shanks and Whitebeard it is. All I'm saying is the more I watch, I know this dude is going to pull out some legendary attacks and I'm going to be like, I guess he can do that. Because that wasn't even him attacking, he just kind of fended off one of Whitebeard's attacks. He's really cool though. Oh yeah, and speaking of their conversation, Whitebeard brings up Buggy and he's just like, yeah, I remember when you two were on Roger's crew. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I should just expect anything and everything from Shanks. If you told me he was an alien from the future here to save the One Piece world, I would be like, it's possible. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, the point I keep trying to make is every time this guy Shanks appears on the screen, a bunch of information is thrown at you, a bunch of world building, just so much that makes you question, do I even know this character? Who exactly is he? What are his limits? What is he up to? Like, for all I know, he's actually a massive villain. Now, to be clear, I don't think he is, based on everything that's been established, but all I'm saying is the possibility is there. Because he is at the top of the list of the most mysterious characters in One Piece. Also, every time he talks, he somehow finds a way to become even more mysterious. Like, in the meeting with Whitebeard, he is somehow way ahead of everyone else. Because he's trying to warn Whitebeard about Blackbeard, he's like, don't mess with this dude, okay? This dude is straight up the main villain, at least probably. And it turned out basically everything he warned about, like, hey, you gotta bring Ace back, everything he was warning against turned out to happen. So it seems like almost every Shanks scene is building towards some massive future encounters. Also, it feels like he's operating on a level of information most of even the main characters and the main villains don't even have. Like, I have no idea what this guy knows, but every time I see him, I'm like, he knows way more than he's letting on. So it's likely he's a mostly good guy. I won't say entirely good guy, because again, I'm sure he will even tell you, like, he's a pirate, he's not a saint. Although, to be fair, we probably should monitor him because, again, if he is going around from village to village and corrupting the youth like he did with Luffy, okay, corrupting the youth is a little strong, but you know what I mean. Like, outside of Luffy, Shanks is definitely the most responsible for Luffy turning to a life of piracy and causing a bunch of chaos. So all I'm saying is, if he was able to inspire one Luffy, could you imagine the chaos that would unfold? If he even inspired another child like Luffy, or let alone 2 or 3 or 10, I don't even want to think of the level of chaos that would happen. But yes, all of this is to kind of say, leading into Marineford and what Shanks did at Marineford, everything that happened with him was completely insane. Because I don't know about you, but I had no thought in my mind that Shanks would arrive at Marineford. I wasn't even thinking Shanks could arrive. The one person who I thought, like, okay, they're strong and maybe they could, was Rayleigh. He obviously didn't, which I'm still a little let down by. Don't get me wrong, I understand the reasons he didn't turn up, but hey, just because you understand something doesn't mean you like it. But yes, I definitely wasn't expecting Shanks to turn up because the story established with a report that the Marines got that he was apparently off in the New World and he was stopping one of the other Emperors of the Sea from arriving at Marineford, which again, that's also like a wildly insane thing that I don't just want to brush under the rug. Like, what? Like, I'm thinking like, okay, he's gonna stop someone. How are you gonna do that? Are you gonna have to fight them? Like, okay, what's going on? That's gonna be off screen? Like, I don't know. But then a bunch of time went by, so obviously I forgot about that. But then the events of Marineford happen and things are just spiraling out of control. Because one moment it's like, okay, they saved Ace. No, he's not saved anymore. And then the next moment Blackbeard arrives, which, to be fair, once he arrived, I probably should have been like, okay, maybe some other powerful people are also about to arrive. Now, in Blackbeard's case, he basically warned Luffy like, hey, I'm going to put on a show that's going to shake the world. which makes perfect sense with then stealing Whitebeard's devil fruit. Like, okay, he basically told you, I'm going to turn up, take his devil fruit, and cause a bunch of chaos. So Blackbeard turning up was like, okay, it was at least a little bit more to be expected. Shanks arriving was not even in the realm of possibility for me. But even before he gets there, you see Marineford is only getting more and more chaotic. Everything is spiraling out of control. Blackbeard is causing maximum possible chaos. He's fighting against Garp and Sengoku. It looks like, okay, maybe Blackbeard's gonna sink Marineford. Akainu, who's leading a bunch of the Marines, basically lost his mind because he's like, I don't care who I have to kill. I am stopping Straw Hat Luffy from leaving. If you get in my way, you will be slaughtered. And this dude does not care. Like, the Whitebeard pirates get in his way, he's like, I will go through every single last one of you. He's even got former warlords try to stop him. He's like, I don't care. I'm going through you. And then, of course, it leads to this moment where Kobe gets in the way, which again is a top tier Kobe moment. And the thing is, the more and more I look at this, I'm like, okay, that took guts or stupidity or a bit of both. Because on the one hand, Kobe definitely did the right thing because he was thinking of all the Marines and all the people dying. So I get all that. But on the other hand, I'm like, I'm not getting in that dude's way. Also, keep in mind, barely a couple of hours before this, he saw Akainu kill a Marine for trying to flee or trying to disobey orders. So all I'm saying is, that took guts. But even so, Akainu is just like, yeah, I don't care that you're a Marine, you got in my way, you will be put down. And he's going in to kill Kobe, which I'm like, on the one hand, you could probably just toss him to the side, but still, I get the point. He's trying to send a message like nothing gets in the way of absolute justice, even other Marines. But speaking of nothing getting in the way, this is when something does get in the way. Because we see that this force of nature in Akainu has his attack completely stopped by a sword. And I don't know about you, but in these few seconds I had to think of like, okay, who could have stopped him? My mind initially jumped to Mihawk, but I was like, no, it's not the right sword. Then I thought maybe Vista, and I was like, I don't know, how does Vista's sword look like? Is Vista even that strong to stop him? I could have easily have guessed 10, 20 other people. I was not going to get the right answer, because when they panned out and you got to see Shanks was on the battlefield, I honestly was just like, what? Like, what? Like, Shanks? Like, I probably would have assumed Rayleigh turned up to lend a hand and stopped him before I thought of Shanks. Because I thought Shanks was way off, and then that opens up so many questions like, okay, was he just closer than I thought? Does he have ways to get around faster? Now, to be fair, some people were telling me like, hey, it will be explained. You just gotta stick around. But even more so than like, how did he get here in time? I had other questions like, okay, how exactly did he sneak all the way up to Akainu without Akainu even noticing he was there? Now, it's possible Akainu was so locked in and just so bloodthirsty he wasn't even paying attention to his surroundings. But maybe it wasn't even that. Maybe Shanks is just way stronger than I was giving him credit for. Which again, I'm definitely not ruling anything out at this point. Like, basically every crazy thing with this dude turns out to be true. Like, it's possible he is simply way faster than basically any of the other powerful people. Like, Akainu didn't even register he was right there. Like, if Shanks blocked him, he could have also easily hit him with an attack. Now, of course, Shanks wasn't here to fight, so that doesn't really make any sense. But still, you mean to tell me this dude arrived, went past a bunch of people, was seemingly not even noticed by all these powerful people until he was right in front of Akainu? Now, either everyone was simply not paying attention or nobody warned anyone about it, or maybe Shanks is significantly faster and more powerful than even I was giving him credit for. Again, I'm mentioning all this to say that everything with this dude kind of freaks me out because I'm like, okay, what's going to be revealed next? Like, this dude knows how to capture a moment, and every time he's on screen, he's building hype. Not to mention, if he's here, that means he must have stopped the other Emperor of the Sea from arriving here. Which opens up a bunch of other questions like, how exactly did he stop that? But then he's like, you know what? Not only did I stop that, but I'm gonna one-up that, and I'm gonna stop everything that's going on here. Also, if you're enjoying the video so far, remember to like and subscribe. Like, this man Shanks really looked at the entire Marineford war and he was like, okay, how can I first make sure it doesn't become a bigger problem and then conclude the war before things get significantly worse? Now, I personally was like, this whole situation seems wildly out of control. I'm not sure if anyone can stop what's happening at Marineford, but Shanks is like, no. Don't underestimate me, okay? Because this man was like, okay, let me stop the war from becoming a bigger deal by going and confronting another emperor before he can show up and make things worse. So I'm like, okay, that's a pretty big task. Certainly that's more than enough to manage, but Shanks is like, no. I'm gonna solve that problem somehow. Again, that's still very mysterious and I want to learn more about how he actually got that done. But he was like, I'm gonna one-up myself because then I'm gonna arrive here and basically be like, okay, you had your fun. He looks at the Marines and is just like, okay, you got what you came for. Let's call it off. And so I'm watching all this like there's not a chance he's gonna be able to solve all these problems basically by himself. But again, with this character, I'm just perpetually wrong. And basically one by one, Shanks gets each of the major factions here to stand down, because first you see Mihawk walks off and he's like, I agreed to fight Whitebeard. I didn't say anything about Shanks. Now again, I don't know if I want to read more into that, like why doesn't he want to fight Shanks? I know all the way back he said he didn't really want to fight him after he lost his arm, but personally because it's Shanks and basically everything with this dude is a big deal, I think that there's actually a very mysterious reason why he doesn't want to fight him, maybe a secret agreement or something, I don't know. Regardless though, Mihawk stands down, then Shanks gets the Whitebeard pirates to stand down, and clearly they have enough respect for him to be like, okay, yeah, we agree. Then he turns his attention to everyone and he's like, okay, anyone, if you want to fight, step up. His entire crew also appears right behind him without any warning. And again, I'm not sure if this has any greater explanation behind it. Maybe his crew like him can just move really fast and silently or stealthily, because even back in Luffy's backstory, they appeared out of nowhere. Now, I'm not sure if they simply didn't show the movement or if there's actually a good reason. And again, the only reason I'm mentioning this is because it's Shanks and everything with this dude is somehow mysterious. Also, side note, Shanks, I noticed you didn't really have any women in your crew. I'm not judging, but all I'm saying is even Blackbeard has some representation. Okay, I'm not being entirely serious, but I'm also like, it is a little funny you don't even have one woman. But anyway, after Shanks issues that challenge to anyone, he's like, hey, if you want to step up and fight, everyone just kind of looks at him like, yeah, I think I'm going to do the smart thing because I value my life. And so of course, nobody goes in to fight him. Even Akainu is just like, yeah, I'm not even stepping up to fight this dude. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying anything about Akainu's strength versus Shanks. I'm simply saying this dude was willing to fight anyone and everyone to get to Luffy, but he's not willing to fight Shanks to get to Luffy. And so I think that's an important detail as far as how he sees Shanks. But anyway, after Shanks does that, then he turns his attention to Blackbeard and his crew, and he basically is just like, okay, what's it going to be? Are you going to fight or are you going to stand down? And clearly they're setting up some future massive clash between these two, because we've already seen they have some bad history with each other. Even when Shanks went to meet with Whitebeard, the primary point of that meeting was Shanks was warning about Blackbeard. He even mentioned the scars he got from him, and he was basically like, this dude is not to be messed with. So basically before anyone else, Shanks has been the one warning people about Blackbeard. And even Blackbeard makes a sly comment on Shanks' scars and how they make him look more handsome. Now he's kind of taunting him a little bit, but I will say he's not wrong. Anyway though, Blackbeard of course stands down. He's like, yeah, I got what I came for, but you clearly know those two are gonna have some legendary clash. Now ordinarily I would assume Luffy has to take down Blackbeard, so it doesn't really make sense for Shanks to beat Blackbeard in whatever future clash that they have. But I also have to consider other possibilities, like with Shanks everything is mysterious. Who's to say he doesn't have some crazy role I just don't foresee? So I know it's cliche, but with Shanks I should expect the unexpected, which obviously I know I can't do. But anyway, after getting the pirates to stand down, Shanks turns his attention to Sengoku. And Shanks at this point is speaking from a place of authority. Like he's not pleading with them, he's like, no, you need to do as I say. And he's very clear that he's there to stop the war, but on top of that he also makes some other demands. Like he says to Sengoku to let him handle the burial of Whitebeard and Ace, which of course the Marines don't like. Even I was watching this like, hey, that might be a step too far. It's already a big deal to tell them to stand down. Now you're making more demands, and clearly the Marines and the world government will want to parade around their corpses. So even I was like, hey, that seems like a step too far. But what the flip do I know? Because Sengoku's like, yeah, I agree. And I'm like, why am I not surprised at this point? But then arguably the craziest part of this whole interaction is what Sengoku says next, because he agrees to stop the fighting, but he tells Shanks like, yeah, I'm only agreeing because it's you. And I'm like, what does that mean? Again, this is the thing with Shanks, is almost every single line of dialogue with him opens up other questions. This opens up a bunch of questions like, okay, what is Shanks? Who is Shanks? Why is Shanks? But a big part of the reason I wanted to walk through everything I've seen with Shanks and all of the patterns I'm recognizing is not even so much for me to speculate, but it's for me to say that every time Shanks appears in a major moment, Oda finds a way to one-up himself and basically be like, hey, whatever you think you understand about Shanks, you don't. you have a small fraction of the picture. Anyway though, this is a wildly fascinating character, but I am certainly curious to hear your thoughts. Also, if you enjoyed this video and want to see other One Piece and anime related videos, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.